Hello and welcome to People and Power. I'm Hamish McDonald. On today's programme, neighbours but not friends.
Extrémisti pochodujú cez štátne hranice do susedných krajín. A keď hovorím, že pochodujú, tak myslím doslova, naozaj, že pochodujú, sú oblečení v uniformách.
Slovakia's voters go to the polls this weekend for the fifth time since it became Europe's newest nation in 1993. It's only a modest milestone, to be sure, but for its southern neighbour Hungary, which recently held elections of its own, the political flavour of Slovakia's next government is a matter of some significance. Relations between the two countries have become increasingly tense in the past few years. Slovakia has a sizable ethnic Hungarian community, and grievances about perceived discrimination at the hands of the authorities have been growing. Add to that a controversial recent decision from Budapest to offer citizenship to Hungarians living abroad, as well as the increasing influence of far-right nationalists in both countries, and you have a volatile, some say dangerous, mix. Well, filmmakers Nick Hazelwood and John Ryan have this report.
In the early 1990s, a poisonous mix of post-Cold War nationalist rhetoric, attacks on ethnic minorities and economic uncertainty fueled the disastrous wars that shattered what was once Yugoslavia. It seemed inconceivable that anything similar could ever happen again in Europe. Nevertheless, in a year of elections in Hungary and Slovakia, similar ill feelings are now generating anxiety about relations between two neighbouring European Union states.
Én örülök annak, hogy ez meg lenne, mert azok az emberek is magyarok, még talán jobb magyarok, mint mi vagyunk.
Dvíhajú na pozdrav ruky a hajlujú.
The language law is, I think it's an outrageous and unprecedented piece of legislation.
It makes me feel sad because I think that shouldn't be the way to treat people, treat Hungarian and Slovak people.
Egy magyar vagyok, forradalmáról.
Modern-day tensions date back to the end of the First World War, when the victorious Allies dismembered the old Austro-Hungarian Empire. Hungarian communities were left isolated in Romania, Serbia, Slovenia and the Ukraine. Most of what has become southern Slovakia used to be in Hungary, and today around 10% of Slovakia's population is ethnically Hungarian. That's more than 500,000 people, concentrated in one border region. Over the past few years, friction between the two communities in the area has increased, and according to many Hungarians, this has led to increasing abuse and discrimination. On the 1st of November 2008, this ramshackle stadium in Dunajská Streda, southern Slovakia, saw a violent explosion of anti-Hungarian sentiment. But eyewitnesses allege it came from the police.
Olyan szerencsés helyzetben voltam, hogy én itt a pályaszélén állhattam újságírós fotósként, és hát néztem a meccset, mert senki nem számított arra, hogy ilyen hirtelen lesz. Tehát nem volt nyoma annak, hogy itt bármi hasonló jellegű probléma előfordulhat.
A football team called DAC 1904, supported mostly by ethnic Hungarians, was at home to Slovan Bratislava, from the Slovakian capital, just 50 kilometers away. Zaba Zibula was filming the game for the local television station. Even before kick-off, he noticed trouble brewing outside the ground.
Most, hogyha szétbontjuk a magyar szurkolótábor, aki magyar nyelven igyekezett szurkolni a DAC csapatnak, tehát a Dunaszerdehely csapatának, ők nagyon fegyelmezetten viselkedtek, a szlovan szurkolótábora viszont elég, tehát rendőrséggel is összetűzött több helyen útközben, és házakhoz dobáltak be görög tüzeket, tehát gyakorlatilag udvarokat gyújtottak szinte fel.
There appeared to be trouble in the stand holding the Slovakian fans, but 17 minutes into the game, police entered the ground and confronted DAC's largely Hungarian supporters. The police would later claim that fans were throwing stones at them, a charge the DAC supporters strongly deny.
A probléma az volt, hogy az ilyet szurkolók, akik nem tudták, hogy mi történt, mentették a bőrüket, próbáltak menekülni. De hát lehet látni, hogy ott korlátok vannak, egy szűk kis kapu van. És ha megindult a rendőrség, akkor nem tudtak más csinálni, mint leugráltak, vagy akik az emberek, a hátsóbbak megpróbáltak leugrálni, magukkal rántva másokat, valakik leestek. Tehát egyszerűen a földön landolt annyi ember, és óriási számú sérült volt a szurkolók között, akik ilyen módon valahogy megsérültek, vagy agyonütötték magukat sebesre, vagy eltört valamiük.
As many as 60 fans were injured. Locals said the police picked on them for not being Slovakian.
Nem magyarul beszéltek, és mondták, hogy most megmutatjuk nektek magyaroknak, hogy nem fogtok itt ugrálni Szlovákiában.
To many Slovakian Hungarians, the violence was simply another in a long series of provocations dating back to World War I. But others think the situation has recently deteriorated.
Things really got worse since the 2006 elections, because the ruling party that won the elections chose to get into the governing coalition, two parties that have a long history of anti-Hungarian and anti-minority agenda.
In Slovakia's last elections 4 years ago, Smer, the Social Democratic Party led by Robert Fico, won a majority, but formed a coalition that included the ultranationalist Slovak National Party. Its leader, Jan Slota, is known for his extreme anti-Hungarian views.
Ez nem így van. Robert Fico legnagyobb bűne az, hogy Jan Slotát bevette a kormánykoalícióba, lovat adott alá, és ezzel Slota folytathatta azt a nemzeti nacionalista álmokfutást a magyarok ellen, amit folytatott, és az egyszerű emberek bizony azt érzik és azt hallják, hogy Jan Slota azt mondja rájuk, hogy görbelábúak, hogy csúnyák, hogy ebben az országban nincs mit keresniük, hogy az ő nagyszüleit meggyilkolták, és így tovább, és így tovább.
Slota is on the record as calling Hungarians a cancer in the body of the Slovak nation that should be removed without delay. He has even called publicly for tanks to be sent to flatten Budapest. Unlikely though that may be, Slota's rhetoric has resonated with some sections of Slovakian society. With the economy struggling and unemployment at more than 12%, minorities have made an easy target. But Slota's influence isn't just restricted to sloganizing. He's widely credited as being responsible for controversial changes to Slovakia's language law in September 2009. Changes that many ethnic Hungarians feel are aimed squarely at them.
The language law is, I think, it's an outrageous and unprecedented piece of legislation, which leads to very absurd situations.
The law said that Slovakian must be used at all times in health and social services, except where a minority group makes up more than 20% of the local population. All public announcements and signs must be first and foremost in Slovak. All cultural events must have a Slovak language introduction, and minority language schools must run their administration in both languages, with priority given to Slovak.
Imagine that a Hungarian walks up to a ticket counter in Bratislava, in Pozsony, and asks for a ticket in Hungarian. I mean, let's say the clerk is also Hungarian. They speak Hungarian. And believe it or not, by this, they break the language law. And the train company can be fined up to 5,000 euros. There is actually a language police whose mission is to investigate these criminal acts.
Azért, mert a törvény valójában azért készült, hogy megfélemlítse a szlovákiai magyarokat. Ez a legnagyobb tragédiája a nyelvtörvénynek.
Norbert Molnar edits Slovakia's only daily Hungarian newspaper.
Felhívtuk a szlovák postát, hogyha egy magyar ember elmegy a postára itt Pozsonyban és el akarja intézni az ügyeit magyarul, akkor ezt megteheti-e? Erre a válasz az volt, hogy nem. Aztán megkérdeztük, hogy angolul mindezt megteheti-e? A válasz pedig az volt, hogy persze, ha a postás kisasszony beszél angolul, akkor megteheti.
Kalman Petos, Program Director of the Forum Minority Institute in Shamorin, Slovakia, has studied the language law and its effects on minorities in the country.
The language law is one additional element to stir up emotions between Slovakia and Hungary, because this is something which the Hungarian side perceives as a further attack on the identity of Hungarians. The Slovak government perceives the Slovak-Hungarian bilateral relationship, first of all, through the prism of security, as if this was a real question, as if in the 21st century there was a real danger for Slovakia from its southern borders.
But others do justify giving priority to the Slovak language. Vladimír Matejka is a Slovakian MP in the ruling Smer party. He lives in Komárno, a town where the local population is more than 60% Hungarian.
Povedal, že to je absolútna dezinformácia. Keď by ste sa tu prešli po uliciach alebo prídete v úradoch, oni môžu medzi sebou aj maďarsky hovoriť, aj v úradoch, v nemocniciach, v školách alebo vysielali. Tento jazyk neuberá národnostným menšinám maďarským, ale žiadne národnostné menšine žiadne práva. Tento zákon umožňuje, aby sa Slovák dorozumel na vlastnom území.
However, it's not the first time language has been controversial in Slovakia. In 2006, student Hedviga Malina claimed she had been beaten up for speaking Hungarian in public. Her alleged attacker scrawled, "Slovakia free of parasites" on her clothes. Just 17 days after the alleged attack, the police closed the case. Prime Minister Fico then publicly accused Malina of inflicting the injuries on herself. She was charged with perjury. But the scandal refused to go away. Eventually, the police investigation was found to be seriously flawed, and they were forced to admit Malina probably had been beaten up. 4 years on, her attackers still haven't been found. Kalman Petos sees a clear pattern of discrimination against Hungarians, and indeed other minority peoples, such as Roma, that has to be addressed.
One of the biggest problems in almost all Central and Eastern European countries is the lack or the absence of the intercultural education. But in Slovakia, which is really a multi-ethnic state, there is a large Hungarian minority, there is a large Roma minority. You simply cannot create a positive atmosphere and the social cohesion unless you simply attribute much more attention to the intercultural education. The Slovak children, the Slovak pupils and students learn almost nothing, so close to nothing about the other national minorities or other ethnic groups.
But of course, the question of language is a complex one. Komárno in southern Slovakia has an overwhelmingly Hungarian population and boasts the country's only Hungarian university, where almost all classes are in that language. Master student Timea Folkova is one of a number of students with mixed parents.
I am Hungarian, I know the Hungarian culture, language, history and so on, so of course it's part of my personality. We speak both languages at home. It's a bit mixed. With father, we rather speak Slovak, and with mother, we rather speak Hungarian. I think it's very positive. So we also watch Slovak television, Hungarian television. We read Slovak and Hungarian newspapers as well. So at home, these two languages are really mixed.
Timea says she's never been discriminated against for being Hungarian, but dislikes politicians using the Hungarian card to win votes.
When I hear these negative statements from the government of Jan Slota, it makes me feel sad. Okay, I know that's politics. Okay, so some political parties, it's a tool for them to gain votes, but it makes me feel sad because I think that shouldn't be the way to treat Hungarian and Slovak people.
Komárno sits on the banks of the Danube, looking across to neighbouring Hungary. It has a quiet, untroubled feel to it, but on the 21st of August 2009, it became another flashpoint for deteriorating Slovak-Hungarian relations. A committee from the town had invited Hungarian President Laszlo Solyom across the border to unveil a new statue of King Stephen, the first Christian king of Hungary. The invitation led to days of heightened tension between the two countries.
Solyom László látogatása valójában a szlovák-magyar közös hisztérikus kapcsolatoknak a kicsúcsosodása volt.
The Slovakian government intervened, saying they couldn't guarantee his safety and that the event was a provocation designed to stir up anti-Slovak feeling.
Tak pán prezident bol upozornený najvyššími ústavnými činiteľmi, že tento krok by nebol z bezpečnostných dôvodov správne načasovaný, že by to tu možno z jeho strany došlo k nejakým nebezpečenstvám a myslím si, že to bola aj provokácia od prezidenta Solyoma.
1968-ban ugye magyar tankok jöttek be Csehszlovákiába, és ennek az évfordulóján érkezett az államfő. Na most én ezt nevetségesnek tartom. Egyébként teljesen mindegy, hogy milyen napon jött volna, bármilyen napon nem engedik be őt Szlovákiába, vagy akkor Komáromba azért, hogy felevassa ezt a szobrot.
Mayor Tibor Basternak was on the committee that invited the Hungarian president into Slovakia. He says that the Slovak authorities missed the point of the event. King Stephen had written a message to his son, which had crucial relevance to modern Slovak-Hungarian relations.
Synu môj, vždy privítaj cudzích ľudí, alebo ľudí cudzej národnosti, do tvojej krajiny, veď oni svojou kultúrou, svojou rečou obohacujú túto krajinu.
Having made a point about Slovakia's apparent intolerance, President Solon turned back at the border, to the disappointment of 4,000 people waiting for him in Kamano.
A práve keď viete, že ako aj pred postavením tejto sochy, tá situácia bola dosť napätá aj na slovenskej, aj na maďarskej strane, alebo medzi Slovenskom a Maďarskom. A práve týmto aj mesto Komárno chcelo dať odkaz slovenskej politike, ale aj maďarskej politike, že tu v strednej Európe vedľa seba musíme žiť v pokoji a kľude.
But the banning of the leader of one EU state from entering another was seen by some as a serious breach in diplomatic relations. Back in Hungary, the Slovak ambassador was called in to explain his country's action. Molotov cocktails were thrown at the Slovak embassy in Budapest, and a few days later, 2 men rammed the Slovak ambassador's car and shouted abuse at him.